Hello everyone. Welcome to another live stream. Today here in Nairobi in Kenya. You can see the park behind me. I've just been walking around today, exploring. Yeah, I thought I'd get on here today to do this video. Talking about what your silence does to a narcissist. Because they may act like it's not a big deal for them. They may act like it isn't affecting them. As though they have all of these other things going on. They have all of these other options. But your silence affects them more than you think. Narcissists need supply. They need attention, validation, admiration, money, sex, resources, a place to stay, a sense of control, superiority. They need all of the things from their supply. And that's what they were getting from you. That's what you were doing for them for all of that time. You were providing them with what they needed, which inflated their self-image, it fed their ego, it made them feel important. So you sustained them for a period of time until eventually they really became too much for you. You just couldn't do it anymore. It was really taking its toll on your psychological health. And so you struggled to inflate their self-image. It didn't feel so good for them anymore. And of course, because they get bored, the fun for them is in the chase, the pursuit, rather than the acquisition, rather than actually obtaining it. But yeah, initially it became an obsession to them. It was all about gaining this control over you, securing you, securing the emotional and financial resources that they needed from you, which you were then providing to them. And as long as they had your attention, as long as you were constantly engaged with them, they were fine with that. As long as you were operating and basing yourself off of their influence and control over you. That's all that they needed from you. Because that's what made them feel alive. That's what made them feel significant. By them having that control. And that really should tell you all you need to know. Yes, they may act like your distance, your silence isn't a big deal to them. But really it is. And a lot of that, it's really just reverse psychology. They act like it's not important to them. They act like they don't really care about it. Because why would they care about it when they've got it? When it's already there? When it's already under their control, then they don't have to worry about it. But as soon as they start to feel that control slip over this thing that they act like they don't really care about, or it doesn't really mean anything to them, that's when they start to lose their minds. That's when it starts to affect them. Because they actually need it a lot more than they've ever let on, than they've led you to believe. And this is because they have a void inside of themselves. There is nothing inside of them that they can generate from within. that can sustain them. They are empty inside. And that's why they need it from you. That's why they need a person outside of themselves to sustain them, to make them feel whole and complete. Because they can't do it by themselves. They can't just go and practice self-love. They can't accept themselves. It's not going to work that way for them. They don't even have a sense of who they are. And they don't want to. They don't want to know who they are. They want to disconnect. And that's what they use you for. You were a form of escapism. You were a distraction for them. And although they may have acted as though it wasn't important to them, they didn't care about it. When you were attentive, when you were engaged, that very thing, that very service that you provided was more important to them than anything else in the world. You were parenting them. You were giving them very specific things that met their emotional needs that were not met in childhood. You were pacifying them, appeasing them, giving them a sense of control, making them feel better. You were babying them. And that's more important than anything else for a narcissist, is to have someone making their entire world, their entire life about them, dropping everything for them, and walking on eggshells, making sure that they do not make a mistake. That is very important to the narcissist, is to have someone there who they can disconnect from themselves, so that they can feel more connected to their false self, so that they can feel more alive. That's more important to the narcissist than anything in this world, is that supply. And you were perfectly groomed for that. Not just when they met you, but in your childhood. It was already set up in your personality to abandon yourself for someone predatory like them, and to mold yourself, adjust yourself in the very specific way that they needed you to be, to make themselves feel whole and complete. It was not a coincidence. It was not random. This was all arranged. This was all preordained, set up in this very specific way. And you became a reflection of everything that they were missing, everything that they lacked. You were then this reflection of that, everything that they needed in their childhood. That's what you became for them. And of course, you would become that for them because they're self-absorbed, they lack empathy. So when they encounter someone who's willing to drop everything and make it all about them, of course you're going to become this mirror reflection of everything they didn't get in their childhood. That's what you become for them. Because it's all about them. It's all about what they want. It's never about what you want. If it was about what you wanted, it would have been very different. But everything changed, everything molded specifically because it was about what they wanted, what they were missing from their parents in childhood. And that's what you provided to them. Now, the narcissist is never going to get out of this. It doesn't matter what you do for them. It doesn't matter what you mold yourself into. You can adjust and adapt all you want. It's not going to change anything. These are unmet needs from childhood that they needed a long time ago. And so you molding yourself into whatever they want now is not going to change anything. It's not going to make them better. They are stuck in an endless loop. And you yourself, you wonder why does this just go on and on? Why does it never end? Why does it never stop? It's because their needs can never be met. They can never feel fulfilled. They need you to be this way permanently, on repeat, in order for themselves to feel comfortable. And it's never going to be complete. There's never going to be an end to it. And that's why, as you may have noticed, no matter how much you do for them, no matter how much you did for them already, it didn't mean anything. It hasn't changed anything for them. They need it to continue on. And they have no intention of giving anything back to you. Because they feel like this is what they missed out on in their childhoods. And so now they need it from you. And they demand and expect it from you. They have this sense of arrogance and entitlement. But this is how it's supposed to be. Because this is what they never received. So they expect it to continue on to no end. And essentially what you are doing is you are pacifying them, you are appeasing them, you are babying them, you are attending to their unmet emotional needs, medicating them. You are feeding them, burping them, changing their nappies daily. That's really what you're doing for this narcissist who's really just a big baby. And they're going to need that for the rest of their lives. There's never going to be a time where they are going to wake up, take accountability, and start just being the man or woman that they need to be. That's never going to happen. It's never going to be that way for the narcissist. They're never going to look at themselves. They're never going to take accountability. They're never going to do the work to heal. You're always going to be chasing after them, following up after them, sorting things out for them. They're always going to dump all of the duties, the responsibilities, the burdens onto you. And it's always going to be your problem because you are dealing with a big baby, an emotional toddler, a child in an adult's body. That's what you're having to deal with every day in this relationship. And they're never going to grow up. And they're always going to expect this from you. There will always be this expectancy, this entitlement. And it's because they were not loved in their childhoods. Their emotional needs were not met. That's what this all comes down to, and that's why they expect it from you. But yeah, like I said, no matter what you do, no matter how much you do, no matter how long you do it for, it's never going to be complete. They are never going to be satisfied. It is never going to be enough. And it will go on and on for the rest of your life or for the rest of their life. And that's just how it's always going to be. It's never going to change. It's never going to be better. It's never going to be different. Because there's nothing that you can do to make it better. And you can't even sustain it. They're always going to be that way. And they're never going to look at themselves. They're never going to reparent themselves. They're never going to think, all right, this happened to me in my childhood. Yes, it was wrong. Yes, it was bad. But now I have to step up. I have to take responsibility for myself. The narcissist is never going to think that way. They're always going to blame everyone else. They're always going to blame other people, their parents, society. And we could do that all we want, but it's not going to change anything. We have to look at ourselves. We have to work on ourselves. That's the only way anything's going to be better. By us taking accountability for where we find ourselves in our lives. Because nothing for anyone is ever going to be perfect. But yeah, this is how it is with a narcissist. And this is why they need you to be their parent, their caretaker, their babysitter, their personal ATM, that emotional punching bag. This is why they need that from you. And they crave it. But as long as they've got it, it's not important to them. They take it for granted. They don't appreciate it. But when you go silent, when you pull away, when you come back to yourself, when you focus on yourself again, when you redevelop your sense of autonomy, instead of just being always on edge, scanning the environment, anticipating their needs, quite literally like a baby, where you've got to worry about it, if the baby's crying, if the baby needs milk, if the baby needs a nappy changed. If you pull away from worrying about that, and you come back to yourself, and you focus on your own needs, that's when they really start to lose it. Because now they're losing their supply. They're losing their attention, validation, admiration, their caretaker. They're losing all of this from you. And so of course, now that their needs aren't being met, they're going to start to worry about it. And some of you may think, why can't they just go off and find a new supply? Why will they lose it if I stop giving in to them? And they will, because of how you were conditioned in childhood to be that same way for your parents. And that's how it worked for them. And not only that, but they were able to groom you for a very specific purpose that they needed you to fulfill. So they're not going to find it in anyone else. And it would take a lot of work for them to make someone else that way. And they are so used to, so accustomed to how you do it for them. Because you align with their needs very well, in the exact way that they like it, based on their own insecurities or deficiencies. It fits them so well that it's not going to fulfill them in another person the way that you do it for them. They're never going to be able to replace you, because everything about the way that you do it, it is the perfect supply. It really is. Like everything that they imagine in their minds for how they wanted it to be, that's the position that you fill. And I mean everything from your body posture, your body language, your facial expressions, your tone of voice, the way that you speak, the way that you walk on eggshells around them, the way that they say jump and you say how high, and the way that they can instill this awkwardness and stubbornness in you, and just everything about how you fulfill their needs is perfect for them, because they trained you to be that way. So it gives them that sense of control, that sense of security, stability, superiority, everything. It does everything for them. Of course, they're never going to tell you that, and they will just humiliate you and act like everything you're doing is wrong. That's reverse psychology. That's exactly what they want you to think. But actually, everything you're doing is perfect. It's ideal. It's exactly the way they want. And that's why they don't ever try to change it. That's why they just want you to keep on going. Because it's fulfilling a need for them. A need that was unfulfilled in childhood. So that's why they don't ever want it to stop. And yeah, they just want you to keep on trying, just keep on doing and never stop. That's what they want from you. keep trying to get it right, keep trying to make it perfect, keep trying to fulfill their needs in the way that they want it. And that's really how they want it to be. But yeah, when you go silent, it becomes a real problem for them. Then they don't know what to do. Because what happens is when you go silent, when you come back to yourself, when you start thinking for a change, never mind about them. Come away from their influence, their control, what they want, which is constantly being drilled into your mind. When you come back to yourself and you ask yourself, but what do I feel? What do I want? Because although they view you as an extension of themselves, as though you're connected to them, really you're a separate person with your own feelings and needs, your own values and beliefs. So when you come back to yourself and you ask yourself, what do I feel? What do I want? Of course, it's something very different. And you start to become a very different person to what they turned you into, which threatens their control and no longer fulfills their needs for narcissistic supply. Because now you've found your own sense of self, your own autonomy. So yeah, when you go silent, it's a real problem for them. They don't know how to deal with that. Because now, you're no longer abandoning yourself. You're no longer playing the role that they want you to play. You're no longer doing that for them. And so, they no longer get that supply the way that they used to. And that is terrifying for the narcissist because they spend so much time grooming you. Remember at the beginning when they were mirroring you, idealizing you, it was very important to them. That's why they invested all of that time and efforts into making you that way, to where you were like a puppet on a string. You were always ready to cater to them. So, yeah. When you pull away, when you come back to yourself, when you find your autonomy, your sense of self, it's devastating for them. They really feel a sense of a loss. They really feel regret, like they've really lost something about you. And of course, you know, since you just see it as though it's just something stupid. Like, what is this nonsense that you made me be, that you made me do? It's just so silly, it's foolish. Like, you just look back and think, oh, I was an idiot. But for them, it's something they, I mean, not literally, but it's like they held it so closely to their hearts. You know, it really did something for them. It was something really personal, sentimental. If there could ever be something sentimental for a narcissist. I mean, really, it was all about themselves. But it was very important to them. They cherished it. They valued it. Yes, they took it for granted while they had it. They may have ridiculed you, humiliated you for it. But despite that, it still did something for them. That's why it was so important to them. So when you pull away, yes, they begin to grieve. They feel a sense of loss. It hurts them, irritates them. And naturally, they try to get it back. They try to regain control. The only thing they can think about after that is, how do I get this back? How do I get this back in my life again, what I once had? This person who I once had out of my control, who I had doing what I wanted, meeting my demands, regulating my emotions. How do I get this back? That's all they can think about. And that's why many times they do get it back. Because that's all that they can do, you know. All they want is to repeat the cycle. And they don't want it to ever stop, to ever end. They want it to keep on going. Because it feeds their ego, it makes them feel important, it makes them feel alive. When otherwise they just feel dead inside. So, yeah, that's all that's ever going to happen. I mean, they will come back, they will hoover you and make you believe that this time it is going to be about you. It is going to be about connection. It is going to be about something real. But it never is. When they come back, it's always ever going to be about themselves. It's always ever going to be about what they're missing inside. What they need to complete themselves. That's what it's always ever going to be about. It's never going to be about anything else. And that's all they're ever going to use you for, is this object, this plaything, this toy. It's never going to be about your independence, your autonomy, your sense of self, your feelings, your needs. It's never going to be about that. They will bait you in, making you think it's going to be about that in the beginning, but very quickly they'll switch it up on you. They will change it. Because they're always going to have these unmet emotional needs from their childhoods. And they're never going to take accountability for that. They're never going to accept it. They're always going to make it someone else's problem. So that's all they're ever going to come back and do to you. And that's all it's ever going to be for you. But when you do go silent, when you go into contact and you pull away from them and you never come back, yeah, they're going to be very upset about that. Yeah, they're going to be very angry. They're not going to like it. And they're going to do whatever they can to get it back. Because they need it. And think about it, if they didn't need it, why were they trying to get it back? Why were they putting the time and effort to groom you into coming back? They wouldn't. They wouldn't bother. They would just find someone else who is what they want. They wouldn't bother wasting any time with you. But they do, because they do need it, everything that they were getting from you. As stupid as it may seem to you, the things they did to you. And as much as they may act like it wasn't important to them, they do need it. It is important. You have to look at their actions, forget about their words. Remember the grooming, the conditioning process. That happened for a reason. That wasn't just a coincidence. It was all based off of their needs, their deficiencies. Don't make any mistake about that. It was. It's just they've gaslit you to make you think that your role, your position is just something foolish, something humiliating. Like they don't really care about it. And you should just feel lucky to be around them, to even get to do that for them. But no, it was very important to them. It was really important. And that's why they had you to not treat it as something amusing, and instead to treat it very seriously. Yeah, they want you to treat their feelings and needs very seriously because it's important to them. Now pay attention to what was important to them, and then you know what it is, the needs that weren't fulfilled in their childhoods. And yeah, they are always going to be stuck that way. They're always going to be looking for something to meet their very specific unfulfilled needs from childhood. That's all they're ever going to do. And it's never going to be any different. And you're just going to have to accept that. Because no matter how much you want it to be different, no matter how much they try to make you think that it is going to be different next time, they're always going to be coming back, tricking you, baiting you, into making you think that this time it's about you, this time it's about your feelings, this time it's about your needs. But it's never going to be. And the only acknowledgement you're ever going to get is going to be regarding what you are doing for them, how you are feeding into their dynamic, what they want. So, yeah, that's it. I hope this message was helpful for you. I know many of you are going through this right now. I mean, you know, you wonder, how long is this going to go on for? I mean, they've ruined your life so many times. You know, you're being abused, manipulated, you've gone back and forth several times, maybe dozens of times, and you're fed up with it. So of course, you know, I have compassion for many of you who are going through this right now, and you know, that's why I had to get on you today and give you this message. But let me know down below what you think. Let me know if you've got any questions. I'd like to hear from you. But yeah, as you can see, I'm just at this park today, walking around, exploring in Nairobi, Kenya. Again, make no mistake about it. You pay very close attention to the role that you had to fulfill for the narcissist. Don't ever minimize it. You pay very close attention to it. What they groomed you to be, it is everything that they were missing in childhood. It is a perfect example of everything they needed. The needs that were not met. It is. As ridiculous as it may seem, as laughable. Yes, that was what they needed. Yes, they needed their mother to hold them in her arms. Look into their eyes and tell them, don't worry, baby, everything's gonna be okay. You're gonna be all right. I'm here, I'll take care of you. They needed that. And that's what you were doing for them all of that time. And I know all of you were. You were all that person. You fulfilled this role as being their mother. That's what they needed. That's what they never got. It's no coincidence. They'll try and make you think that it is. They'll say that you're crazy. They're gaslighting you. And that's why it still just goes on. And again, they blame and shame you for it. It's like, why are you doing this? They act like, why are you so sensitive? Why are you so reactive? Why are you so suffocating? Why were you always trying to mother me? They'll say that, but they groomed you for that specific purpose. Because this is the thing with all narcissists. Professor Sam Vaknin, who coined the term narcissistic abuse, flying monkeys, who's been doing this for decades. He has his own theory, dual mothership theory. Sometimes they are mothering you and you're mothering them. And it's all a result of that unmet emotional needs in childhoods. That's where this comes from. And this is all that they're ever going to need from someone who they groom into being their source of supply. It's all they're ever going to want. And that's it, that's why they crave power and control over you in that way. It's because they felt like their parents had too much freedom in their childhoods. Their parents were doing their own thing. They were neglected, abused. And so now they want to have the power, they want to have the authority to make sure that that doesn't happen again. Well, as for us, naturally, we're kind of paranoid, we're kind of distrustful after what we experienced. So in some ways, we want to be careful, we want to be sure about what we're getting into. Their goal is to convince us that they are different, that we can trust them, confide in them. The moment that you do, you have been groomed, you have been conditioned, you have been brainwashed. You are now under a spell of an abuser. That's what happens when you trust, when you confide in them, when you reveal your secrets, your dreams, goals, ambitions, fantasies. Once you share this with them, they've got you. You never share this with the narcissist. It will destroy you. And then it will become all about their feelings, their needs. Layla says, when they try to rant or vent to get attention, is it best to ignore them? I mean, yes, of course it's best to ignore them, without a doubt. But it's not always that easy to do that. Because many of you are being primed, groomed to be that way from childhood. This is the problem. It's not just that simple, where it's like, oh, yes, this person's been manipulated to me, abusing me for years, I could just ignore them. It's never that simple for us. I mean, we have been groomed, primed. We've received trauma bonding, manipulation, gaslighting, intermittent reinforcement over years. You've lost your autonomy, your sense of self, your sense of guidance and direction. You're being led by a predator, an abuser. It's very difficult for you to lead yourself where you want to go. And I know many of you will relate to this, but if you look back at your life, you look back at what you think were your choices, your decisions, and really think about it. Did you really choose any of that? Was any of that actually anything that you wanted to do? Including and especially the things that you were blamed and shamed for. No, that was all a result of the grooming, the conditioning, the brainwashing, the limitations, restrictions on your freedom. Because if you look at it a lot of the times, it's like, what other option did you have? What else could you choose? So it can be very, very difficult. And this is why there's billions of views on these videos on YouTube about narcissists. Because people can't just ignore them. They can't just go no contact. Their brains are being rewired. They become puppets. They've been trauma bonded. And this has been reinforced over a long period of time. Narcissists are delusional. They tell themselves that it's all you. They lack self-awareness. They believe that they can't affect anything outside of them. They have an external locus of control. So they don't see it as though it's anything that they're doing. They see it as though it's all you. So you take on all of the blame, all of the guilt, all of the shame. As you look at yourself like you're the problem. Naturally, you seek the validation from them, their guidance, their direction. It just sends you around in an eternal loop. It doesn't lead you anywhere because they want it on repeats. Because it fulfills the needs that were not met in their childhoods. And this is an endless loop for them. And they have this toxic amnesia. You can tell them something about their behaviors, the things that they do. In one moment, they will be like, yes, okay, I get it, I understand. This is what I do. This is how they treat you. And this is why I do it. They can act like they understand. And then in the next moment, they have this amnesia about it. They forget it. And then they just focus on their needs. They focus on what they have to do now to get that need met. But yeah, you know, this is what it comes down to. Narcissists are very needy, desperate, clingy people, as they were in their childhoods. They needed to be because their mother was not there for them, did not attend to their emotional needs, did not make them feel loved. So now they cling to you, but in a covert way a lot of times, or in a coercive way. They force you because they feel like they have to force you, otherwise you're not going to meet their needs. It's very, very sad, but you know, this is how their disorder operates. It's how it has to be. But they can't ever see it as though it's their problem, as though it's something wrong with them. They're looking at you and thinking, well, why do you stay? Why are you doing all this stuff for me? Why are you so weak? Why are you so sensitive? That's how they're looking at it. They're just seeing it as though you're the problem. They're never looking at themselves thinking that they're the issue. They never do. No matter what happens. I mean, seriously, you know, there's rapists, murderers out there. They never look at themselves like they're the problem. They're blaming the victim. They're blaming the person they murdered, the person they raped. And that's why many of them, they don't ever stop. They just do it again because it fulfills a need. It makes them feel good. It makes them feel better. And while they're doing these things, and people are worried about, you know, how could someone do that? You know, that's so sick. That's so twisted. They're busy concocting up some other fantasy that's far more extreme. And they're just thinking about how weak and sensitive you are. For seeing it as a big deal. They're already on to something else, something way bigger. This is how it is. And there is nothing too extreme for the narcissist. It gets normalized over time. What made them feel a certain way at one moment, later on, now they want something else. They want something bigger, something more extreme. Now they want more control, they want more power, more resources. And it just keeps going and going. Of course, the shame also increases. And that's why the blame increases. The shame increases on you for that. Never at themselves. Because that's what allows them to continue. A psychologist, Dr. Ramani, mentioned in her videos. She did a video titled about this. The narcissist shame abuse cycle. What permits them to continue with the abuse is deflecting their shame, their feelings of worthlessness, inadequacy onto you. That's how it works. If they weren't doing that, they wouldn't be able to continue. The shame would be so overwhelming and they would just collapse. And of course, that's how you become their emotional punching bag. That's how it works. But yeah, despite how they act towards you, you know, the narcissist typically comes in, manipulates you, grooms you, puts in a lot of work to make you a very specific way. And then as soon as they've got that, as soon as they've achieved it, they're out with it. They just forget about you. They just take it for granted. They don't appreciate it. And you think, why would you invest the time? Why would you put in so much work just to walk away onto something else that isn't doing anything for you? Someone else that isn't doing anything for you, even. But that's just it. It's only because you're still engaged, you're still attentive towards them. They still have that control. They still got you on the shelf waiting for them. As soon as you pull away, as soon as you shift your energy, as soon as you heal from that emotional, psychological trauma as a result of being around them, as soon as you do that, it's all over. You fulfill the needs. You made them feel whole, complete, alive. But the moment you shift, they sink right down. It sinks right into their stomachs. And it's all over. And then they start to feel hungry again, that desire. The moment they feel they've lost that control over you, it's done. They've lost the power. It doesn't matter what they're doing. It doesn't matter where they go. As I've said before, it doesn't matter if the narcissist has a fleet of supercars, a fleet of private jets, a fleet of super yachts, mansions around the world. It makes no difference. They are always going to crave that supply. Always. Everything else outside of them is supply in an attempt to fill this void. But it's never going to be enough. And it's never going to be able to compete with that supply, that control that they can have over you. Nothing in this world is ever going to compete with the control that they can have over an innocent, unaware person. Nothing is ever going to compete with that. And that's what they have with you. That's what they have with you. They make it out like they have it with someone else, a new supply, but that's what they have with you. And that's what they will never find in anyone else. But yeah. Your silence does destroy them, and everything they do, all of the crazy things they did to you, the manipulation, the grooming, all of the insults, all of the attacks, stealing from you, cheating on you, betraying you, everything. All of the hurtful things they do, it's all for a reaction. It's all to get your energy, your emotions out of you. Because that makes them feel whole, it makes them feel complete. That's where they want to get that from you. They want to get what's in you, in them. Because they can see that you feel good, you have peace within yourself. And that's something they're never going to be able to generate from within. They're never going to be able to generate that love, that peace, that acceptance that you have within yourself. And that's what makes you so trusting. To where you then sacrifice yourself, abandon yourself. It's because you have that vibration, that emotion within yourself that they're never going to find within themselves. They can only ever get that from you. And when they get it from you, they can't appreciate it. They can't value it. The only thing they value is the pursuit, because it's not meant for them anyway. You're not meant to steal someone's peace. You're not meant to steal someone's love. That makes no sense. That's the whole point about it when it comes to peace, love, is that there is no theft involved. It's a paradox. But this is what they have to do because they don't want to do the work on themselves. They don't want to find peace or love within themselves. Because to find love, you have to go through pain. To find peace, you have to go through pain. This is just how it works in our spirits, and this is why they're never going to find that. We found that because that's what we had to do. our entire lives, throughout our childhood. We overextended ourselves. We took on all of the responsibility, all of the trauma, all of the pain. We accepted it. We were open, vulnerable to it. We went through it. And that's how they were able to ridicule us all of that time, because we took it on. And through doing that, through going through that journey, we then find peace, we then find love. And yeah, that's just what you have to do. Don't run away from it. Don't resist it. Keep going through it. Let them run away from it. Let them push it away. That's not going to get them anywhere. They're never going to find peace or love in their lives. But guaranteed you will. But you're going to find it within yourself before you find it anywhere else. The narcissist doesn't even care about it. They're just looking at things to mask their pain. That's all that they care about. They're not even connected to themselves. They can't even connect to you. They can't even listen to the words that you say. It means nothing. The only thing that has any sense or meaning in their worlds is what's going to make me feel important, what's going to make me feel powerful, desirable. That's never going to complete them. Just looking at this pond here with these birds. That's why I came here, is just to admire this nature. I love ponds, birds. Just seeing things, you know. It's very peaceful for me. But yeah, your life will never be peaceful with a narcissist. But it's never going to be peaceful for them. It's always going to be chaos, trauma, dysfunction. That's all they've ever known, and that's all they're ever going to know. And that's why they view us as these perfect containers for their trauma. They just dump it onto us, all of the chaos, confusion. Because in that area, they've got so much to give, so many problems. And you have a large capacity for it. Because when it comes to chaos, confusion, trauma, you're empty in that. And that's how you may find when you're not around the narcissist, you don't really overthink. Unless they make you overthink. They make it traumatic. And yeah, that stays with them. As for you, you find peace in the silence. They don't. They find chaos in the silence. '89 live viewers, give this video a thumbs up if it has been helpful for you so far. I know it's not nice dealing with narcissists. It's no fun. And yeah, you know, that's why I've made it my mission, my duty, to protect you and to preserve your peace. Because that is what I stand for. That is what I'm about. And yeah, I hope that I have done that for you today. So, yeah, that's it for this video. I'm gonna go and have my dinner now and finish off the editing for my next video. But give this video a thumbs up if it was good for you. Subscribe if you're new. Click the all notifications to be notified when I go live again. And check out my daily blog posts. Book a one-on-one coaching session with me. Just go to my website. It is narcsurvivor.co.uk. also, it's Narc Survivor Coaching on TikTok and Instagram. Narc Survivor 18 on X. And Narc Survivor on Facebook groups. If you would like to support my work in spreading the awareness of narcissistic abuse, you can donate by going to paypal.me/narcsurvivor. Anyway, that's it for this one. I'm gonna put my jacket on now. I can feel it's getting cold out here. Thank you for watching. And as always, I look forward to speaking with you in another live video.